I still never envisioned the end. And for me, I had a lot of mentors and guys that kind of took me under their wings as a young player in the league. And every single one of them, when their time came, they said the same thing. When you know. And for me, the last couple years were tougher. The first 10 years just flew by. And, I remember thinking after year 10, I was like, oh my gosh, I might go play for 15 or 20. Like, this is so much fun. Physically, I feel great. I was very fortunate throughout my career that, injury wise, certainly I had plenty of surgeries, but nothing that was sticking with me after I fixed it, nothing that was going to hinder me for the rest of my life. So physically, I felt great. The big thing for me the last couple of years was the mental aspect, just the grind. I remember after this season, which for me, for everyone involved down here in Tampa, didn't go the way any of us expected. Sat down with Jordan, and she was like, "Look, if you want to keep playing, we will pick up. We will go wherever you're going to go," which was different for us. We were in one place for so long, and then it was going to be three places in 3 years, four if you count the last year in Minnesota. And quite honestly, for me, it wasn't fair to them anymore. Me coming home in a bad mood because I'm mad about work, and there was no reason for it. So she said, if you want to keep playing, the only promise you have to make to us is that you'll enjoy it again and you'll have fun. And so I said, perfect. I can't wait. Like, I'm gonna go have fun again. This is football. This is what I do. And as free agency started, I had a very short list of teams that I was willing to play for. Certainly at this point, I don't want to go be a part of a rebuild. I wanted to play with a legitimate contender. So we started talking to some teams, and quite honestly, I just reflected on the last year, and I felt like last July I picked the perfect situation. It was the perfect situation for me individually, the perfect situation as a team to have a chance at winning a Super Bowl, and neither of them could have been further from the truth. So as things started going and I thought about my family and where my kids are in their stage of life, ultimately I felt like I was just being selfish. And I thought I got the situation right last year. So there was no guarantee that I was going to pick the right situation this year and not be miserable again. So ultimately, it ended up being to the fact from a timing standpoint, that's March. I started to do some TV stuff. I called Notre Dame's spring game. I called a USFL game. I was doing more podcasts and radio. And then I got really heavily involved in the Altru side of things and raising money for charity. And quite honestly, it just got to the point where I called my agent and I said, I'm more excited about this stuff than playing football. That tells me all I need to know. I'm not going back. I don't want to go back. So everybody that we're talking to right now, we can politely tell them, it's over for me. So we've known for a while that it was over. Obviously, it's hitting the news cycle now as I'm starting my full-time radio show on Sunday, and I won't be out there for anyone week one this year. But I feel like I was so fortunate to have played as long as I've played, to be able to sit there with my family and make the decision what's best for us. The decision wasn't made for us, and there aren't a lot of guys in football who get that opportunity. And I also feel like it's helped me throughout late July, August, when I'm normally in training camp. I've been in training camp my whole life. I'm not like looking through the glass, what's going on over there? Like, oh, I miss it so much. I couldn't have been further from football in the month of August, and it felt great. And I think that's why ultimately, as the mentors I had throughout my career told me, when you know, you know.
And that's why for you, it is a congratulations on your retirement, right? Because you made the choice and you have something to look forward to. I just think that's very telling when you said, I'm enjoying this more than football. Did that strike you like, whoa?
Absolutely, Don. And for me, like I never thought there would be something that would fill my cup like football.
Mhm.
I said I started playing football when I was 5 years old. I dedicated my life to football. Football brought me so many incredible relationships, friends, opportunities, and I just always assumed I'll play football until I can't play football anymore. And as I started getting more involved in these other things, especially the Altru piece, having the opportunity to help other people raise money for causes that they're passionate about, I was so blessed during my time in Minnesota that so many people helped Jordan and I do things in the community that we were passionate about, that now I have the opportunity to do that for others, and I can be an asset to them, and I can lend my expertise and all the things that I've learned over the last 12 years to help them make an impact. And, to me, again, I never thought there would be something that replaces football. And yet here I was early in the off season, spending almost every hour of every day doing this and not actually football.
Well, tell us more about Altru, and you also have partnerships, and then we'll talk a little bit about you coming to the dark side on media. But when I look at you, I'm like, wow, Kyle has always been giving back to the community, always has been fundraising. You and Jordan, your family, everyone, whether it was, the Christmas where you bring the kids in, you've always kind of had more than one hat going on, right? You're just not getting your body beat up. But tell us more about this new venture for you. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. And I'm extremely excited because, as of today at noon, we're going to announce our partnership between Altru and the Minnesota Vikings Foundation, where Altru and the Minnesota Vikings will create once in a lifetime experiences for Vikings fans, and Vikings fans get to donate to the Minnesota Vikings Foundation for a chance to win these incredible prizes that we'll have all throughout the year. And first, our prize will be a VIP experience to watch our Vikings at US Bank Stadium play the defending champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. And, when we say once in a lifetime opportunity, we're talking on the field pregame, getting to be on the sidelines right there as the players are warming up. These aren't just good tickets to the game that somebody can buy. So we really want to give, Vikings fans, especially our diehard fans that want to support the incredible work that the Minnesota Vikings Foundation is doing in the Twin Cities community. We want to also reward our fans who get something that, maybe if it was in a live auction at a charity event, they couldn't afford. Or, our diehard fans that are in the upper level and, hey, I spend a lot of my money on those expensive tickets. Well, I'll donate as little as $10 for a chance to win, and maybe they'll be the one that wins, and they get to go down on the field and get, the experience of being on the sidelines in pregame. So it's extremely exciting for me because ultimately I look at it from two sides. It allows me to still have a place and an impact with the Minnesota Vikings organization and specifically the Minnesota Vikings Foundation, but it'll also allow me to, through the Minnesota Vikings and the Minnesota Vikings Foundation, help cultivate these once in a lifetime experiences for Vikings fans. And it's kind of a win-win. We want to raise a lot of money for charity, but we also want to provide Vikings fans with some really cool experiences too.
And it's also kind of cool that you've come home to the Vikings. It's so good to see you back in purple.
Thank you. And it's funny because today when we make the announcement, coming home is a big part of that video. And I think for some of our older Vikings fans, they will get the reference in the video and get the humor in the video. But we're extremely excited about it. And, all season long, this isn't just one opportunity. All season long, Vikings fans can go to our website, altru.com/Vikings, and we'll have different experiences throughout the course of the year that you can donate to benefit different organizations in the Twin Cities community for a chance to win this really cool stuff.
And you got some of your former teammates in on the gig too, huh? That's what you were saying?
Yeah, it's a self-deprecating video for sure, but it's all fun. And I say this all the time: when it's about charity and doing things to impact the community, I'm all for it. So it was a lot of fun to be back at TCO a couple weeks ago and film the content that we're going to use today to announce the partnership. So, we're extremely excited about it. Like I said, for me, that community's been so good to me and my family for so many years that this will give us an opportunity to continue to build on the things that will not go away. The trip to the North Pole that you mentioned, we're bringing it back this December. The different things that we've done, golf tournaments in the summer and the different events, like those aren't going anywhere. We're going to make sure that those stay and continue to build and get better. So it's extremely exciting for us, for me to be able to bring this platform of Altru to Vikings fans and to the Vikings organization is really kind of a dream come true for me.
Kyle, though, I have to kind of give you your flowers. That doesn't happen for every athlete, where the people, they don't want to let you go. Even though Adam Thielen left, he still did his softball game and all the Vikings players were there. And so many people, like Kyle Rudolph's always in purple. It doesn't matter where he goes. When you came to training camp earlier this year, people like, it's so good to see him. I'm glad he's back. To have that kind of grip, and not only because you played football, because of who you are, that means a lot of what you built outside of on the gridiron.
Well, I appreciate it. And for us, it's always so good to get back. I think we really realized it the first time when we left, when we went to New York the first season I was gone. And, you're there for 6 or 7 months and you're kind of in the grind of the season. And then we get on the plane in January and we come home. And, I still remember to this day, Henry had just turned 3. The girls were 5, and we're sitting on the plane. Henry never remembers Minnesota. His last year in Minnesota, there were no fans, so he couldn't go to games. The girls remember. They remember Victor. They remember US Bank Stadium. They remember the dragon that used to spit out fire but could no longer spit out fire. Those are the things that they remember. And we're sitting on the plane, and it's funny because anytime we fly Delta into Minneapolis, it's usually a lot of Minneapolis people. It's a Minneapolis flight crew. It's Minnesotans on the plane. And, as people walk by, they're always so gracious. They're always so kind. They always say hi, how much they miss us, how much they wish we were still wearing purple. And, here I'm sitting next to my 3 kids, and they're like, Dad, why do all these people keep talking to you? Like, why do all these people keep stopping? And, here's Jordan. She's like, well, your dad played football here for a long time, and, they really like your dad. They have no clue. But for Jordan and I, it just kind of always shows that special place that Minnesota will have in our hearts, and, that we kind of have in Minnesotan fans' hearts as well. And I think that ultimately was why it was so important for me to put a bow on it and do it in purple. If I was going to retire with any organization, it had to be the Vikings.
I like that. Just warms my heart, because you don't think about the kids aspect, right? Of not remembering. And so now they'll all remember what you're doing now, and and you're doing it with the Vikings. I think Ben Lieber and many other athletes say this when they're at the tail end. They don't know if they would have done it the same way, going for a couple of years here and there to other teams. But you have to live out your dreams. But it's very difficult. Did you find that to be true? Very few people like a Chad Greenway can engineer staying with a team, one team their entire career and doing it that way. Would you say, which was it, the last year that was the hardest year, or was it?
Yeah, and honestly, both years that I was away, for different reasons, but ultimately for me, I don't regret playing for other teams at all. And it's, again, it goes back to relationships and people.
Mhm.
Um, I met so many other guys in two other locker rooms who are now going to be lifelong friends. And, when I think back about the 27 years of organized football that I played from 5-year old till now, the thing that sticks with me the most are the people. Every
Mhm.
step along the way, whether it was youth football, high school football, college, NFL, Minnesota, New York, Tampa, it's about the people. It's about the guys I got to do it with, the coaches I was around. Um, those are the things that I'll remember forever, a lot more than the frustrations I had at times on the field. So, for me, it was an opportunity to go meet two more locker rooms and be around a bunch of guys that I would at had I just stayed in Minnesota and finished my career there. So, it's not something I definitely regret. Certainly I had a different plan in mind for the last 2 years for myself personally, but it doesn't always go that way. But I can't let that tarnish the first 10 years that were so incredible.
Were there any moments and in any of the cities where like the little kid in you was like, oh, I'm playing in the Big Apple and oh, I'm catching a touchdown pass from Tom Brady. I mean, like, like did that, I mean, there's newness in that, right?
Yeah, it was definitely surreal for us. For me at times, we lived in Hoboken, New Jersey when I played for the Giants, and we literally looked at Manhattan every day I came home from work. Every day we walked around Hoboken and went to the park with the kids. My older three were in school on the Hudson River, like their recess was on a pier on the Hudson River, and there's just times where you're like, this isn't real life. Like, there's no way. And you come home late from a game, and you see the city all lit up. And there were a lot of really, really cool things about that experience, especially for our family. And then coming down here, I remember at Meat Sauce, we were talking about this yesterday on KFan. My first year in Minnesota, I'm in the huddle with Donovan McNabb and Adrian Peterson, Percy Harvin, like Steve Hutchinson, just legends in the football world. And it was just normal. Like, yeah, this is what I do. Like, I'm one of the guys now. Like, I play football. And it never really hit me that these guys were who they were. My second year, I get the opportunity to go play in the Pro Bowl. And, now you're around Jason Witten and Peyton Manning and Eli Manning and Drew Brees and like, now we're talking about first ballot Hall of Famers everywhere. And it still was just like, yeah, like I'm one of the guys. Like, I'm here. This is awesome. And I remember getting here last year, and the first night I was here, the Bucks had a community event, and I signed my contract, had my physical in the morning, and they're like, "Hey, we have a community event if you want to go to it tonight." And I was like, "Of course! Like, I would love to. It would be awesome." Kind of indoctrinating myself in the community here, and Tom was there, and I had known Tom throughout my career. We both played for Coach Charlie Weiss. He in New England, me in Notre Dame. And so we had been in communication. He was the only reason I came down here. Talked to me last offseason, telling me he wanted me to come down here. But when I was with Tom and spent time with Tom in person the first time, it was kind of like, holy cow, like, that's Tom Brady. So thankfully, I was able to get that starstruckness out of the way at a community event. So then the next morning when I was in the huddle, I could focus on football and not realize that Tom Brady was across the huddle from me.
Oh, that's fantastic. See, it's those memories, more about meeting beforehand than actual football sometimes that players say when they're old and gray, that's what they hang on to. It's the relationships, it's the friendships. And I'm so happy for you that you're in a position now where you can keep those going. You can still be involved in sports and still be with these people. So it seems to be, for me, on the outside looking in, the natural next step for you, especially that you can be on radio and still be talking some sports, right?
Yeah, no, I'm extremely excited about the opportunity to do, Big Ten games for NBC on Peacock, to do the Fox Sports radio show on Sunday nights during Sunday Night Football, and it keeps me within an arm's length of football. And I think the notion of TV is an easy way to stick around the game isn't true. I think people are very misled when they believe that that's the case. But I think it's a way that I can cultivate my schedule around my family and my kids and still have the game within, an arm's length away. And I really think that calling the two games in the spring allowed me to get a feel for that and
Mhm.
how, what my weekly routine is going to be like when I start calling games. What preparation am I going to have to do throughout the course of the week and on Sunday during the day for the 3 hours of Fox radio that I'm going to do at night. So I'm extremely excited about it. I think the game just moves and changes too fast that if I were just to remove myself completely from the game, 2, 3 years go by and it would seem almost foreign as if I had never played. So I'm extremely excited to be able to stick around the game in that capacity.
Well, thank you so much for all that you have given, not only to Minnesota, but just to the football community. And I'm really looking forward to. I'm happy that you're kind of on the dark side now with media, because I love it. You're just one of those people. I always said there's the Ben Liebers, the Nate Burlesons, the Kyle Rudolphs that are just so well spoken and very intelligent. That I just wanted people to see what I saw in the locker rooms, rather than the 30-second sound bites that we can put on TV. Just that now that you get to express yourself, I think that that's going to be a gift for people. So I'm really looking forward to not only your fundraising efforts, but to see you express yourself, whether it is through calling the football games or in this radio show. So I know I, as a fan, am looking forward to hearing you. So
Oh,
I'm kind of selfish on that. So congrats on that.
thanks, Don. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else that you want fans here in Minnesota to know before we say goodbye?
Just that we appreciate everything. It's a chapter in our life that we'll never forget, that will remain with us, and that we hope, whether it be through television, radio, Altru, whatever that we can do moving forward, that the state of Minnesota, the Twin Cities community, and the Vikings organization are a huge part of it. I feel like retiring as a Viking for me was the only way to do it, and it's because now I will be a Viking again, and I'll be a Viking for the rest of my life, and that's what's most important to me.
82 forever, baby. My favorite memory on the field, Dallas, when you had 2 touchdowns, right? That night game, I was right in that corner for one of them, and I think I had my phone out. So it was just one of many touchdowns that I've been that up close and personal. But that was an amazing game for you. So I'm sure you have many. Do you have one moment that sticks out for you personally that's your big memory?
I think if I had to pick one, it would be the Saints playoff game in New Orleans. Obviously the Minneapolis Miracle in Minnesota was like franchise changing, incredible. Stadium was unlike anything I'd ever heard at that time. But for me, it had nothing to do with me making the catch in overtime. I just happened to be the one that Kirk threw the ball to at that point in the game. But it was the locker room afterwards. You know, we went into that game with no one outside of our organization giving us a chance. The Saints were probably the favorite to come out of the NFC and play in the Super Bowl that year. They had won the NFC South. Um, the Superdome is an extremely hard place to play and a hard place to win, especially in the playoffs. And really, just that whole week, I remember coming in Wednesday for meetings and Zim being like, look, if we're going to do this, it's just us. We'll go down there. We'll take care of business. We're going to have to play a pretty much perfect game. Offense, defense, special teams, everybody's going to play a part in it. And we might still be able to beat Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. And so, like, that whole week, just all the preparation, everything that went into it, and then going down there in an environment where you can't even hear the quarterback who's 2 feet away from you in the huddle on every play call. You just give everything you have for 3 hours. And then all of a sudden we're in overtime. It's third and goal. We score a touchdown. It's a walk-off win. The game's over. you know, Brian O'Neill runs and jumps in my lap, and you know, Brian's 310 pounds, and like I catch Brian so we don't both go down. Um, and then walking through the old visitors tunnel that's not even there anymore. Now there's like sideline suites instead, and Mark and Ziggy Wilfer right there, and Rick Spielman and Rob Brzezinski and George Payton, and you just like go down the line of people who all have given me so many chances and so many opportunities to make an impact on this organization. And then you get into the locker room, and you're in the locker room with all the coaches who put everything they had into that week, and all the players. And I remember I just sat in my locker for like 30 minutes and didn't take my stuff off, didn't move, just, you know, hanging out with everyone and soaking it in. So really, to me, it's the locker room after that game.
Mhm. So that's exactly the memories, right? Just the love, the brotherhood, I
Mhm.
would say, is what it's about. Well, Kyle, I think I have that video of you coming through the tunnel and jumping into the arms of Briz and everyone. So if I can find that, I will definitely send it to you,
Awesome.
just from
Thank
my
you.
perspective. But thank you so much for your time. I'm so excited to bring this to the fans. And gosh, I'm looking forward to the partnership and also the Chargers game when you're in town. So,
Thank you.
and,
We can't
and
wait to
all
get
the
back.
stuff you're doing with Altru. I think that's just such a blessing for the fans. So that's awesome.
Thank you.